Today I want to talk about a debate in the lawn care industry. Not so much do a comparison because that's been done, but I just want to take a different angle on this as I want to share a little of my professional perspective on why I like liquid fertilizer over granular fertilizer. So as you guys know, in the lawn care industry, there are so many different ways you can fertilize your lawn. Now, one of the things I want to preface here is you guys should do what works best for you, right? Don't do something just because I say it's great, but I kind of want to illustrate why I think it's great, if that makes sense. So in this case, that would be the granular versus the liquid. Now, I've had my fair share over the last 10 years of experimenting with both, using them on my lawn and using them professionally, and I just wanted to share my 2 cents on why I believe liquid might be a better choice. The first thing I want to go ahead and preface is that liquid is better in the sense that it's a smaller footprint. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, when you're doing granular applications, things are a little more locked up unless you can get a product that has everything in it that you're trying to address at one point. So a good example of that, if you're doing an application of fertilizer in mid to late spring and you have dandelions coming up, that fertilizer, unless it's pre-mixed with a weed and feed, is not going to control those dandelions. Whereas if you get a liquid fertilizer and you have to spray 2,4-D, you can actually tank mix them together. Now, I don't recommend doing this all the time, but in situations where you're coming into the springtime and dandelions are a nuisance, it's a good thing because you can mix them together and get everything done bada bing, bada boom with one single application, which is nice and quick. Granular, you could do the same thing, but it would have to be pre-formulated, whereas with liquid, it's a little more unlocked. You can mix them together. You can't do that with granular. Maybe you can, but I would advise not doing that because it's going to throw off your application rate of both products if you mix them in the hopper together, which is a no-no in the lawn care industry, as it can compromise your application rate and control with said fertility and weed control products. Another thing, I don't think, in my opinion, weed control in a granular form is not as targeted. And I would say the same for grub controls and fungicides. They're just not as targeted. Now, there is an advantage in that if they don't get watered in right away, they might stick around a little bit longer, but they're still going to degrade in the sun. It happens, right? There are liquid products out there you can get, liquid alternatives to that can actually combat that if they're not watered in right away. You're going to have to spend a little money to get them, but they're there, and they actually still come out to be a little cheaper than going the granular route because oftentimes you're not able to get a fertilizer pre-mixed in with it, if that makes sense. Now, sometimes you can, but sometimes you just can't. So the fact that you can mix them together is great because it's more efficient, it's a lower footprint, and again, if you're targeting weeds in conjunction to your fertilizer, assuming they're compatible, it's just going to be more targeted because the liquid is a smaller particle. It goes down more consistently, and because of that, it's going to be more bound to control the weeds a lot better than a granule. Whereas if you put it down, unless it sticks to the leaf, it's more than likely to bounce off. Maybe a couple will stick, but again, your targeting is compromised with granular. So that is something to think about in the weed control department, and that you can mix it with your liquid fertilizer, lower your footprint, and be more efficient. Now with granular, as you guys have known, I've talked about on this channel, I preface using liquid weed control no matter what. I know there's weed and feeds out there. I just do not believe that they are as targeted as liquid. I think liquids are better targeted. So mixing that in with a liquid fertilizer is going to save you a lot of time. If you're a professional, they have injection systems out there that can actually save you chemical cost, which I think is cool. If you have a skid sprayer, they have injection systems for that. But if you're a DIYer spraying your lawn a couple times a year for weeds, you can easily put it in your spray buddy or whatever it is you're using to complete that application. I wouldn't recommend doing it in an ortho dial-in spray or any hose end sprayer. That's the only thing. But if you're doing like a spray buddy or you're doing a tank mix with a backpack sprayer with liquid fertilizer, you're going to be fine. Now, if you're doing granular, I would highly advise doing the liquid weed control, and this is actually why I prefer the liquid, because again, the liquid's going to be better targeted. It kind of adds a little more time to your application because you have to go over it with the granule, and then after that you have to spot spray the liquid, whereas if you do all liquid, you can just tank mix them together, walk over the lawn, bada bing, bada boom, you're done. It's as simple as that. That is my reasoning for liking liquid over granular. And I also think it happens to work a lot better on the fertility side, because with liquid, you're not only getting the root absorption, but you're also getting the foliar absorption, which in my opinion is going to lead to much better color compared to the granular counterparts that might be around it. Now, I'm not bashing granular. As a matter of fact, I sell granular on my website, jakethelawn.net, if you want to check that out. We have great granular formulations, but I personally think the liquids might be just a little bit better in that you can dial them up or down as you please. You can add more water if you feel there's not enough water in there. And on top of that, you can mix in herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides to cut down on your footprint and save yourself some time.